This one is going to have the highest Scoville units. We need Love My Lawn in here to measure our Scoville units on how spicy this episode's going to get.
Listen, with this next article here, I just need somebody to explain to me why. Right? I need someone to explain the why. Lawn mentor.
You need a mentor.
Perhaps this is your area of expertise that you can explain to me. But why, in God's green earth, has China hoarded over half the world's grain, pushing up global prices? And in the original article I logged into Notion here is one from Japan. So understand that this is probably written from the lens of Japanese, and I feel comfortable saying that because my wife is from Japan. I promise it's not one of those things where I'm saying I'm not racist because I have a black friend kind of thing. Like, I'm not picking on the Chinese because I have a Japanese wife kind of thing. Hey, Telly, what's up, man? This is a bad joke. I'm sorry.
Don't make Telly the token black guy.
And look,
yeah, we got Palmer.
I'm putting this up from, I have no idea what news source this is, and this could be straight out of QAnon for all I know. So forgive me. This was the only write-up I could see about it, but there are legitimate sources that talk about this. According to data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, China is expected to have 69% of the world's maize reserved by the first half of the crop year of 2022. The country is also projected to have 60% of the world's rice reserves and 51% of its wheat. Less than 20% of the world's population has managed to stockpile more than half of the world's reserves, leading to consequences such as steep price increases across the planet and famine. Wow. China's COFCO Group, a state-owned food processor, operates one of China's largest food stockpiling bases at the port of Dalian. The facility stores beans and grains gathered in China and abroad in a staggering 310 silos. U.S. Department of Agriculture data shows that China continues to hoard grain despite food shortages across the world. The figures represent increases of roughly 20 percentage points in the past 10 years alone, while China spent over $98 billion importing food and beverages in 2020. Between January and September of 2021, China imported more food than it has since at least 2016. China's soybean, maize, and wheat imports have skyrocketed 2 to 12-fold over the past 5 years on aggressive purchases from supplier nations such as the U.S. and Brazil. While China stockpiles the world's grain reserves, the number of people living in the famine-struck regions topped 700 million in 2020, according to the EU. My question is what in the hell is going on in China? Why would you need 50%, over 50% of the world's stockpile of grain?
Listen, I'm not going to go too deep in the wormhole of what I've read in the last few weeks about their housing situation and the bubble that it's in, and some of the other things that seem to be going on economically in terms of how they're pulling back majorly in a lot of different ways. I don't know if I don't think they're preparing for war or anything like that, but I think that there is a lot of stuff, and this is just pure conjecture. This is Matt. Yeah, there you go. I think we talked about this the other night on the chat, but I'm gonna need the food service grade tinfoil to make my hat out of when I say this. But it seems like they're preparing that something bad's gonna happen there economically, right? And they know the headwinds here worldwide are not in their favor in a lot of ways, and I think that's what you're seeing with them trying to go out and own these countries, through like what they're doing with Sri Lanka and what they're doing in sub-Saharan Africa and a lot of other places. So it will be interesting to see. But you're right. What else makes sense? Like, Ray, can you think of any reason, legitimate reason, why they would need to have over half the world's grain? Like, I'm trying to think of it. Okay. Nothing makes sense to me. And
your explanation was great, by the way. That was very, very convincing.
Okay. The only other thing that I need to add to this is the fact that their own COVID policy has shut down the internal economy of China and shut it down hard. And so, again, they are having to create reserves and generate reserves because, by the way, it is not going to be a good headline where what breaks out on the news is China's COVID eradication policies are also causing widespread famine internally in China. Because unlike other countries that have imposed mandates and lockdowns, did you know that in those lockdown affected regions of China, the government themselves is making widespread distributions of food directly? Did you all know that?
I did not know that.
No, but it's not stunning to hear it by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah,
because
but
it's a different way of life
then,
over there, to put it.
Yeah, but then what my point is on this is that China is preparing, or is basically in the middle of a situation that is very different from what you're used to, what I'm used to, what the rest of the world is used to, where they're basically hunkering down because, from what I've seen and heard, their policy or their desire to eradicate COVID, for example, ain't turning out too well. It's not working. It's just not working. So, in order to get through that, fact of the matter is in 6 months to a year, shit's going to hit the fan in China. Really.
And to clarify, I want to make a point here, is that it sounds like we pick on China a lot. And to be honest and fair, 100% absolutely we do. Because
what other nation? One of the few nation states actively engaged in genocide right now. I mean, they kind of had it coming, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
And for the geopolitical
like
economic warfare
of
economic warfare. I mean, that's just
a very direct way to put that.
What? I mean, economic warfare, guys. I mean,
right? That was direct and harsh. Does
that mean China Truth's going to come tell us we're in trouble? No, it wasn't China Truth. It was actually, I don't know where I was going with that. I made a bad connection there. Turf Truth, I still love you. But if there is a cousin that you have overseas, we would like to speak with he or she.
But the reason why is that there's been a lot of crossover, right? Where, we start, hearing grumblings about pesticide shortages because of shutdowns that are taking place over there. And, gladly the United States handed up the manufacturing of that. And now all of a sudden they're hoarding, half of the world's grain. We watch what happens economically when countries like Sri Lanka, and it's weird. It is super, super weird from an outside looking in and trying to take a,
what?
I don't know.
I'm curious
it's just
though. Like,
bizarre.
I really need to study history a little bit better, during like the Imperial British era. Because I bet you if they had a 24-hour news cycle back then, there was probably some really fucked up and shady shit going on back then, right? Let alone, I mean, could you imagine if CNN and Genghis Khan existed in the same time? I mean, fuck, guys, that would have been some shit. Yep.
Oh Lord!
And in other news, Genghis butchered 400 virgins and screwed a young boy last night. More to live.
Thank you for watching this clip. Be sure to tune in to the Burn and Return podcast on any of your favorite podcast apps every Wednesday, where we discuss the industry's hottest news.